Welcome to the Why Not podcast with me, Chrissy Hawkins. In a world where everybody asks you why, I'm here to ask why not. So sit back and relax or walk and listen and join me on this journey as we try to answer this never-ending question: what makes people say, why not? Hello, welcome back to Why Not. So today I'm going to talk about sleep while being half asleep and not being very, very excitable. I don't know. Anyway, here is reasons why lack of sleep affects us and how we should be taking it more seriously. I hope you enjoy it, guys. Hi guys, welcome back to Why Not. So, today I'm going to talk about something that's quite close to my heart at the moment, and it's something that's, I suppose, affecting me in a way that I suppose affects most people. And because of that, I was like, hey, let's talk about it. Right, it's nothing big. It's not like some life-shattering thing, but I'm going to talk about sleep today and how sleep deprivation, lack of sleep can really affect our lives, and not just fitness and health and stuff like that. Well, in health as well, but how much it is intertwined, because I think we take for granted how much this can affect us. And I myself have gotten into some really bad habits for sleep recently, which have resulted in me not sleeping so well, being tired in the morning. Who's not tired, huh? But I find it is affecting my life a little bit. It's something I need to get a handle of, but I'm in a bad habit at the moment, so it's something it'll probably take time to get out of said bad habit, because they don't form overnight. So I need to start maybe slowly bringing it back. But I think obviously there are some scenarios where getting decent sleep or the proper adequate sleep can be very, very difficult. So this is not here to judge anyone who's in there could be an emotional situation with a sick family member. Maybe you've just had a child. I've heard that you don't sleep anymore when you have kids. Sometimes with shift work, it can be difficult. However, you can get a routine. You just need to make sure you get a good routine for the way you're working shifts. Obviously, if your shifts change, that makes it a little bit more difficult to get on a routine, but just do your best and try and get the best sleep you can with them. So sleep, I feel like it is probably one of the most underrated things about that we have in our lives, I think. Well, I don't think anyone doesn't enjoy sleeping, but I think most people enjoy sleeping because they're exhausted and they're finally getting a chance to sleep. I think a lot of people are in a very bad habit of getting adequate sleep, and this can roll over into other things. So the likes of, I talk about people craving sugar a lot of the time, or really like being really hungry all the time. A lot of the time that can be due to lack of sleep. Now there's multiple other reasons, but if you have not slept well, your body is obviously not functioning to its best. So what it does is it looks for a quick influx of sugar, because sugar is your simplest energy form and it'll help it function better. So that's why you find you might be looking for chocolate or sweets or carby snacks that you mightn't normally reach for. That can, obviously people say they're addicted to sugar, it's stopping diets, blah blah blah. Well, it's not. It's your body's response to, I need energy now, and it will always go for the easiest option. It's not that you're not strong enough to stay in a diet. It's not that you have an addiction or to chocolate or whatever. It's just you're probably not sleeping right. Another thing that we end up tending to maybe, I say, rely on maybe a little bit too much is caffeine. So I know some people are coffee addicts, or they're, Monster is a big one as well for people who don't like coffee. There is a half-life of caffeine as well. So what may have initially processed the caffeine there, it can have a half-life of about 5 hours. So it's still floating around your system, and that obviously caffeine's whole job is to negate, well, it has lots of other jobs, but what it does is it negates or it blocks the tiredness receptors, and if it's doing that for 5 hours. So that's why people are often advised not to drink coffee after a certain time, because it is going to block those tiredness receptions. It means you end up staying up later. Then the next morning you're knackered, you want more coffee. It becomes a vicious cycle. So if you can even reduce your coffee intake, or even like if you like the taste of coffee, have decaf coffee after a certain time. Try avoid the monster drinks as well, because they are super caffeinated. Like I used to have them the odd time and you'd almost be vibrating from them. I don't know how people like drink 7 of them a day, but again, this is going to disrupt your quality of sleep, and meaning that you will be more tired, and when you are more tired you will be looking for more caffeine, so we can start this vicious cycle. And then of course we have our fan favorite is alcohol, of course. So again, nothing wrong with having your pints at the weekend or having a few drinks. I'm not saying you can't drink. What I'm saying is this will disrupt your sleep. It's a fact. You may say, oh, I've passed out very quickly when I go to sleep, or sorry, when I have a drink. Like, so if you're someone who has a drink to wind down in the morning, please hope not in the morning, it is going to affect your sleep, because it stops your body going into the deep sleep, which is our restful sleep, which is where all the repairs and cell growth, not muscles, could be muscle, happen. So you are stopping your body going into that actually proper restful sleep. So while you might find you fall asleep very quickly, you'll probably end up tossing and turning quite a bit, and again waking up tired. I don't think anybody has ever woken up from a night of drinking feeling fresh and ready to take on the day. So it is very important, like, that you kind of, I suppose, in a sense, if obviously you're gonna have your nights out, but maybe try to limit that. Like maybe midweek, if you have things you have to be up for, try where you can to avoid the alcohol, and try and get a good like sleep routine in instead to help you get to sleep. So that's just one to remember as well. And sleeping, obviously their lack of sleep has some side effects. So you might find yourself that obviously finding it very hard to have any energy, the craving sugar, as I said before, but like maybe you've had some really good meals all day and you're still knackered. That's generally can be a sign of a lack of sleep. Like, because well, the other thing as well, you could have had 8 hours sleep, but if it's not 8 hours of good sleep, if you're tossing and turning all night, you're still going to end up tired. So it's worth remembering that as well. And then you have, another thing you can find happen is like your lack of, you might be very irritable. So if you find you're very snappy, or like, say for instance, I don't know, even if it's not with your family, it's generally the people closest who get it. Like, we can hold it back in our jobs, but your family doing something silly is really like irritating you, or the dog has looked at you wrong, or horses, they're not listening to you. If you're getting incredibly frustrated very easily, it could be very much a sign that you need some sleep. Like, if you're tired starting something, you're not going to feel great by the end of it, Well, you might feel a bit better, but you're still going to be bollocksed. So, like, there are other issues that you can get, like, slow thinking. So, it can really, someone asks you a simple question and you can't answer that. That is an example of it. So it's, if you're finding simple things harder to do, could be a sign that you need to focus on your sleep a little bit more. Now, there could be other reasons. You could be have not eaten enough. There's lots of them, but this is something. If you ever find some days you just, or even after a bad night's sleep, like people ask you the simplest questions and you just brain fart, it's just a sign that you could do a little bit of sleep. Attention span as well. Lack of sleep can reduce your attention span. It can be very, very hard to keep focused on something when all you can think about is how tired you are. You might even be thinking how tired you are. You might be just hating the damn thing, but it could be the fact that you're knackered. Like, so, it's worth, again, it's something that's going to make your job and your life harder. Sometimes you can have worse memory from it as well, so your memory isn't as sharp as it normally be. And all these things, like especially if you're trying to work or try to do stuff, these are all going to compound into you either feeling mad, affecting your mood, or maybe you're feeling bad about yourself. So again, it can affect your mental health. These are all things that we don't think about. Like maybe the reason you feel so shit about yourself because you can't keep up with anything is because you haven't slept, not because you're a bad person. Because I think we are very quick to blame ourselves when something happens instead of looking at a broader sense of what could be the cause. So I think it's very important that we acknowledge sometimes that, look around you, like why is this, like what is your, it's not necessarily it's just you're just a bad person, it's what are the other environmental elements that could be causing this current situation, and like that, if you've got lack of energy, it can be very hard to want to go and do other stuff. So say for instance, if you're trying to get fit or practice for a competition or train for a marathon, it can be very hard to motivate yourself to do any of those things if you are tired. Like you don't want to do it, you want to lie in bed and get your rest, and then you feel bad and feel guilty because you haven't done anything, and then you probably go to bed at night and you can't sleep because you're annoyed at yourself for not doing things, and again our vicious cycle is there again. So what can you do maybe to put in place that you get that night's sleep and you can plan your day around it and actually follow through with the plans that you had wanted to make? This is something I was saying, like I've said I haven't been sleeping as great as I want. I Instead, I am having naps, and then sometimes the naps run longer, and then I get frustrated because I haven't gotten stuff I need to do. Especially when you're self-employed, it can be a little bit harder because you have to do the jobs. You're not getting the jobs given to you. So then you end up in this kind of said almost vicious cycle of like, oh, I'm a failure at this, but I'm not sleeping now because I'm worried because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So it translates to everybody. It's not just a you thing. I'm just saying it's something that's happened to me a bit in recent times. I'm trying to get on top of it, but I really have to actually try. It's almost in a sense as well, if you have gotten in this habit, you can almost use it as an excuse to not do stuff. So you're like, oh god, I'm tired, I don't want to do this, I can't do this because I'm just too tired. It's kind of like silly in a way. Maybe you enjoy I suppose sometimes if you can complain about being tired, you'll get people feeling sympathy for you or joining in, and you can get that kind of negative vibe, as in like everyone joins in and you all feel miserable together, and then you feel better about not doing stuff instead of trying to get out there and doing something different and fixing it and feeling better about yourself. Because sometimes it is actually easier to be negative and get the sympathy votes. And I know this has kind of gone off on a tangent, but it's like we don't change our habits unless we really have to. So yes, it mightn't be fulfilling you, but maybe you're getting something else from it because you get that like validation that you're not the only one with this problem. Whereas if you try to move away from it, you don't have that like group of people now who are all like, yeah, god, it all sucks, doesn't it, I wish I could change it, but I have a reason to not change it, and sometimes that reason is pretty weak. It's just you're getting the validation. And sometimes, as I said, like we don't really change things unless it becomes very, very uncomfortable. So that's kind of in a sense with me right now. Like it's not ideal. I'm not happy about the way it's affecting me, but at the same time it's a way of getting out of things because I'm tired. So god, I can't do that job I'd planned to do, or I can't write that thing, I'll just have to have a nap. And then I'm like, oh, I'll have a small nap, and then of course I'm like, oh no, I'm tired, I'm going to nap longer. And then again, as I said, you get annoyed because you haven't done what you want to do. We need to think about those, like other than just these mood things, there are like health effects with it as well, that come with lack of sleep. It can reduce your immune system. So if you are prone to getting sick easily, one of the factors can be lack of sleep. Obviously, if you are, say, for instance, working in a creche or a school where you're full of children that are full of children, which are full of children, that are all germy and horrible. I mean, like, in so much as they touch everything, they bring everything with them. It's going to be harder to not get sick. But if you can put yourself in a better position with your immune system, whatever way you can, you're less likely to get sick. You know, as I said earlier, you can end up in these kind of poor mental health states because you're tired and you're exhausted, and then as soon as you get exhausted, you start getting, you can get irritable. You can get irritable at yourself. You can get irritable at people around you, and then that can turn into a cycle of poor mental health. Some of the other things that you can find, it can also have like a risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, obesity. These kind of things can also be associated with sleep deprivation. Now, generally, there is a few other things involved that can lead to them, but as I was saying, the likes of if you're craving sugar all the time, they are high calorie in a sense and a lot of the sugary stuff, as I said, is high calorie. So these can lead to those kind of diseases. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to go into it. You probably have heard all a million times. So I'm going to scoot on past that one. But I'm sure you understand how if you're having a high carb, high sugar diet, it can lead to those types of diseases. But obviously, if you don't, have a little Google. It'll come up quite easily. So you may have heard the term sleep hygiene, which is basically setting up a routine or setting up an environment, just like you would with everything else, that is conducive to sleep, as opposed to what you have been doing and might be helping you sleep. What can we put in place that can help you get to sleep quicker and get a better night's sleep overall? So things like making sure the room is at a cool temperature, making sure you're not on screens, for maybe half an hour beforehand. Try and get rid of that blue light, because we all know that, well, I hope we all know that the screens that we have emit a blue light, which confuses your brain into thinking that it is actually daytime, and that's why you can find it harder to sleep after staring at your phone before bed. If you have a routine before going to bed, your body will start to associate that with nap time, with sleep time, which means at that point it's going to be easier to go to sleep. I did do an episode way back when with Tom Coleman, who is a sleep expert, and that is episode number 39. So it's a really interesting episode, and I think he explains everything better because he has years of sleep research behind him, and it's all scientifically backed. So I think listen to episode 39, he will describe that a little bit better. I'm just trying to kind of, I suppose, remind us all about it, and hopefully give you guys some ideas, or maybe make you realize, oh, this could be why. And look, you've probably heard it 1,000 times, maybe you haven't, and if you have heard it 1,000 times and thought, meh, that's fine, but it's not me, it is. Like, look at it realistically. It is you. It's everybody. It's how basically how biology works. Do you know what I mean? This is one of the things that is very, very important. Yes, you can probably live off less sleep, but can you live off it? And can you live off it and be happy? Well, maybe for a certain time, but a lot of these things aren't sustainable. You need to figure out a way to make sleep work for you. Some people do it in different ways, but it is a really vital part of our life, our functionality, I haven't slept properly and I can't think of the right words. There's my lack of memory gone. But yeah, you are not different. Maybe some people need less sleep than others. The majority do need a kind of similar amount of sleep, anywhere between 7 and 9 hours. If you think you don't, do you really not, or have you convinced yourself you don't? Are you feeling other negative effects that you've just kind of been ignoring for the last while? That's worth thinking about, and obviously that's going to be a bit uncomfortable to look into, and maybe hard to kind of look at yourself and ask yourself these questions, but these are how we make improvements in our life and hopefully make our life better for ourselves and for those around us. So remember, you mightn't just have to deal with this shite. The people around you might have to deal with your moods as well. But with that being said, I think I'm going to let you go. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you found it helpful. I hope my brain worked for the whole thing, because as I said, I have not been sleeping great, and I'm admitting it here that I need to do better, and it is affecting me. So no one is above it. If you want to find me on social medias, you will find me at Chrissy H Fitness on Instagram. I'm also on Instagram for horsey people at strong in the saddle _ and I'm on TikTok for strong in the saddle without the underscore, because I got there first with that one. And if you want to check out my website where you can find out more about working with me, it's www.chrissyhawkins.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. I really do appreciate everybody who listens to this podcast. So if you please could help me with the algorithm and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And even, if you want to reach out and suggest topics for me, I'd be delighted to hear from you. Drop me a DM on Instagram or TikTok. And thanks again for listening.